Hello, welcome to another video, and today I'm going to be talking about something that I see quite a lot where people are trying to either crush themselves with exercise or trying to be super anal and really strict with their nutrition, and all it ends up doing is creating a huge mess. So this quote here, a Bruce Lee quote, this is quite a good one: long-term consistency trumps short-term intensity every time. But basically I want to try and convey the approach that as much as we're always stressing to be as good as you can be, it doesn't mean that you need to be perfect. In terms of exercise technique, perfections, we try to aim for that, but in terms of adherence to workouts or nutrition, eating strategies and whatnot, the all or nothing approach really sort of holds a lot of people back. So while we want to be better at one thing or another, some people it may be their nutrition that's letting down, others it's the exercise. We just need to allow for the fact that mistakes are a part of the process, and it's not a failure as such, and you don't need to punish yourself for it when you do it. Just learn from it and move on, and accept they're always going to be there. So it's not sustainable or realistic to have any type of exercise or nutrition plan that does not allow for a slip up. So there's always going to be something that comes up, whether it's a work function or it's a family function, or perhaps you're on holidays, you can't eat what you want to do, or maybe you just don't feel right. Maybe you're under a bit of stress and things aren't, and there's just things not going right. To allow for the mistake is okay. It's when the mistakes don't ever end that it becomes a problem. So it's just a matter of getting back on track and trying to remain consistent for most of the time. So to give you an example, I've sort of got some pretty good infographics here that you can that really illustrate this point here quite quickly for you. So instead of trying to work out every day, it'd be better to work out some days. Instead of trying to eat perfectly nutritious stuff at every meal, you try to do it with most meals. Cutting out all junk, well, ideally in a perfect world you'd love to, but sometimes it might creep in there a bit. But as long as it's not every day, most of the time you're eating like this, it's okay. Giving up after you've had a bad day, that's not a good idea. So just get back on track the next day. If something goes wrong, you say you missed your workout, that's fine. So just try to learn from the mistakes. In terms of a weight loss perspective, the mindset of the person who has to be counting calories, every meal has to be perfect, and all their workouts have to be done exactly the way the program says for the amount of time it says, because this is how many calories you're going to burn and this and that. This person has this is the all or nothing approach to it. This person will never sustain this type of mentality to it, and if they do, they're a very unsociable person, highly stressed out, very anxious all the time. It's not a good mindset to approach if you want to become healthy. Where the really good long-term approach means, I'm trying to change some habits. I know it's going to take a bit of time. I know I'm going to make a few mistakes, but generally I'm pretty consistent. This person sort of will really take a while to get to where they want to be, but they'll be able to sustain it and stay there for a long time, not have these anxiety approaches to exercise and especially nutrition. So the 80-20 rule is quite a good one. A lot of us have heard that before. It applies to things in business and that as well, not just exercise, but just means that basically if in regards to nutrition, 80% of the time you're eating okay and 20% of the time you're making mistakes. So in a perfect world, you'd be trying to aim for probably closer to 100, 90 to 95% even, but 80% is pretty realistic, and it allows you to eat more freely without the anxiety and the stress sort of being associated with food. And this is where when emotions become involved with food and exercise as well, is when you start to get unhealthy binging, and this is the beginning of diseases like bulimia and other sort of eating sort of disease problems that become a huge problem. So an example of nutrition, I don't really need you to read out the foods here. You can get a good idea of like what I'm looking at here. So not everyone eats all this sort of stuff on the other side here. Maybe your addiction is chocolate, maybe some people it's a soft drink. You know, as long as most of your diet consists of these type of things, you know, especially the vegetable side of it, and mainly water, and every now and then you're slipping up, that's okay. It's only when you're doing this all of the time. If you're doing this every day, then that's a concern. It's only if it's, you know, once or twice a week, it's not a concern. There is a few exceptions which I'll talk about at the end, but generally for most of us to achieve good health, we just need to do this for 80% of the time. So when people really try to eliminate things and be super strict and not allow for any mistakes, it's when you sort of set up the trap of food cravings coming in and really sabotaging everything, and your willpower will never win against food cravings, because the problem's not in your head, it actually becomes at a biochemical level. So you basically, your sweet cravings are the result of your hormonal reactions that are actually sort of triggered by the very same foods you crave. So the thing that sort of disrupts this is the hormone leptin. So the hormone leptin is shown to target taste receptors on your tongue, so thereby it increasing or reducing your cravings for sweet food. So it's thought that the leptin is the sweet sensing modulator, so it either suppresses your sensations to crave something, and therefore contributing to the process that regulates your food. So there's a good little chart here to sort of give you an example of your brain sort of eating food, energy is expended, and then it's sort of utilized into energy, or it's stored, and then the leptin tells it, yep, that's happened, and lets the brain know it's going on. When the leptin's out of the process, which you'll see here, is when there's huge problems in that communication loop. All right, so it's likely either the lack of leptin or your body's failure to respond to the hormone due to the defects in its receptors that contributes to the sweet tooth or the sweet craving. So when you're constantly eating a diet that's high in sugar and grains, the sugar gets metabolized to fat and is stored in your fat cells, so which in turn releases surges in leptin. All right, so over time, if your body's exposed to too much leptin, just like you can become insulin resistant, you can also become leptin resistant. And this is when your body can no longer hear the messages telling it to stop eating, to burn fat, and this is why you remain hungry, and then you crave sweets. The very thing that you were trying to resolve, your body thinks it hasn't had it yet, so it keeps sending a signal to try and eat more. All right, so leptin resistance causes an increase in belly fat, so it just basically sends you on that vicious cycle of hunger, fat storage, and if you continue doing it for a long period of time, then you'll increase your chance of diseases like heart disease and cancer, diabetes, and things like that. Now, when people eat poor food, this is when we see the other extreme measure being used, which is the exercise, and basically using exercise as a means of punishment to basically burn off calories that they've just eaten. And this is again a very unhealthy relationship to have with the exercise, just like it's unhealthy with the nutrition to try and restrict yourself. All this sort of serves to do is create body shaming, and eventually those illnesses and diseases that we spoke about before, and everything becomes stressful. Exercise and food should be enjoyable. They're not meant to be, they're a very enjoyable part of life, but when you actually turn it into a stressful thing, it backfires on you. So when you overeat, crushing yourself with cardio is not the answer. So you basically just get back on track with the exercise you should be spending more time with, which is your strength training, getting out and walking more often, eating your healthier foods again. And like I've sort of just mentioned, exercise is a celebration what you can do. It's not meant to be a punishment of what you ate. All right, so another good little infographic here is don't treat fitness as like a punishment. Get to exercise in a way that improves the way we look, and more importantly how we feel. That's not a punishment, that's a privilege, and we really need to respect our body and not try to destroy it with exercise. A good book to read about exactly this very thing, this book here, Fit Not Healthy, and this is this woman's obsession with doing all the things we've just been talking about, really led her onto a path of chronic. She almost died from her own obsession, which you would have heard this many times, but and it took her a while to sort of to get over that. And I think a lot of people need to, if you're crushing yourself with exercise and really being anal on everything you eat, I think this would be a good book for you to check out. But so they're not healthy in any way. So it keeps us, it basically closes us off from the outside world and keeps us from having meaningful life experience. So that people who are fixated on exercise regularly skip social events so they can get their workouts in. They worry on their holidays what workouts they're going to do. Even drop off their hobbies that they used to love doing just to make sure that they fit in their workout. Really becomes not a healthy part of their life, but an unhealthy part of their life. So this is a perfect title for this book. They may be very fit, but they're not very healthy. The dangers of overtraining, which I've spoken about this in other videos before, and I'll only quickly touch on this, but basically if you're training for you to adapt to the training, it must have a period of repair. If you don't have any repair, then you don't get any adaptation, and if you just keep doing it, eventually you get, apart from illness and disease, you'll probably get injured first. So as the joints will be overly stressed, muscles will be, ligaments, tendons won't have time to repair anything. So you really need to have this little curve here. So your training bout promotes fatigue, and then the recovery phase is what allows you to become stronger. And it's only at this point here is when you really should be bringing training back again. If you bring it back too soon, you haven't actually recovered enough yet. All right, so if you didn't train enough, you would actually lose all of what you've gained. All right, so this would be, say, day 1, probably moving into day 3 here, and this would be day 4. All right, so understanding the progressive overload and how it all works and fits in together is very important. Counting calories, so obsession with counting calories in our society is ruining our health, and a big part of the problem is the fitness industry itself that prioritises reduction in size over actual health, strength or function. Just believe that if you're smaller and thinner, you're automatically healthy, which is just so false. It's not even close to being true at all. So many fitness studios market themselves based on exactly how many calories you can torch in an hour. There's heaps of watches and smartphones with apps beep at us all the time, telling you how many calorie burn for the day. And many gyms even call the name of their gym is basically all about losing weight. And promoting fitness and assuming that once you're lost weight, you're healthy. But and when it comes to food, it's even worse. So I never endorse any of these strategies. There's a little infographic from Precision Nutrition that you can grab from their website. But basically, calorie counts are imprecise. We don't absorb all the calories we consume. How you prefer your food changes its calorie load. Individuals absorb calories uniquely and variably, so we don't all burn them the same. And people aren't good at estimating their portion sizes if they're not weighing that. So when they've added all these things up, there's an error rate of about 25%, and that's not taking into account the error rate of these smart watches and apps that people think are so accurate when they're not even close to being accurate. So relying on this is a flawed strategy. So much better way to do it. And on top of all of that, we shouldn't be looking at food as just a number of calories. We should be looking at what nutrients and minerals it has, what things that food has to supply our internal organs and all the things that we need to sustain life. We should be eating foods based upon what they're going to give to us in terms of these essential vitamins, minerals, proteins, amino acids, not by how many calories itself has. All right, so a strict eating regime that eliminates foods will eliminate all these important nutrients and minerals. So you can see how you could lose weight but be extremely unhealthy. So example here, this is where a lot of nutritionists will tell you to eat the rainbow. We should be eating things based upon all of the things that they can do for us. You can see all these different colors of foods as examples. Moving on to the next thing, instead of focusing on what the scales say, I like to focus more on what the the processes of the things that people are doing to get to where they want to be. So if they want to lose weight, I'm looking at all the things they need to do to be losing weight and measuring that, not measuring the end result. You know, so the process is more important than the destination as such. So what exactly do I mean by the process? Well, I'll be looking at how much sleep they've been getting, the quality of the foods they're eating that we just quickly looked at, how often they're eating, how quickly they're eating, things like that, how often they're working out, what type of workout they are doing, how often they're walking, all these little things, you know, all the little things that all add up to become the big thing. If I measure the process of what they're meant to do, then there's a good chance well, it's not a good chance, it's guaranteed that they're going to get to where they want to be. So I'll measure their effectiveness of them implementing the program instead of what the end result of it is. So examples are, so signs they're making progress, you know, are they exercising consistently, sleeping better, you know, they're more productive at work, at home, they're generally in a better mood, they're more positive in life, their clothes are fitting better, you know, or tighter if they're trying to add muscle, they're learning new things, they're drinking more water, they're cooking their own meals, they're including healthier meals with that, and they're more often on their feet. See, these are things that you would try to measure as opposed to calories. These are more wider based and encompass so many more things that are health orientated instead of just looking at things as purely a fuel perspective. So habits that they could be trying to do. These are habits that you could, again, these are other ways you can measure it. So I could 9,000 steps, 8 hours of sleep, 7 glasses of water, just taking breaks, eating a certain amount of fruit and veggies, trying to meditate each day, 3 healthy meals, no phone before bed, you know, at least 1 session of exercises per day or something like that. So however way you want to slice and dice, it doesn't matter, but this is a more measurable way than counting calories. Now the only exception to these times of being perfect over consistency is when a person is in very poor health. So for example, a person with cancer, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, these people, or even back pain for this, in this example here, these people can't afford to make many mistakes now. They've run out of them. They've used all their chances up. So, you know, they really need to be very perfect in the beginning to try and get to a point where they got more reserve and their body can handle some mistakes without it becoming a problem. And for many cases, this will be come back to poor lifestyle choices and bad habits, and they really can't afford to make any more with that. So they really need to spend the time. So that's the only time that I would probably recommend more being perfect than consistent in these extreme sort of cases. But generally, for most people who are just trying to lose weight or get fit, you know, the 80-20 rules are a nice way to sort of try and approach this, and try and measure the process of things and think about the person you want to be, instead of the outcome that you're looking for. Focus more on becoming that person, and you'll end up getting exactly what you want. All right, so it's unrealistic to think that mistakes aren't going to happen. They're always going to be there. It's just if you accept that and know that they're there and move on from it, you'll do well. All right, so I hope you've enjoyed that video, and if you have any questions, comments, feel free to check out the website and send me some stuff. Check out the description below. I put in heaps of links for you to help you out with this, and you know, you can grab some of these detailed reports with great programs that'll help you to do all of the things we've spoken about. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that, and we'll see you on our next video.